Hello everyone, welcome back to Tech Wisdom. This is episode 5 of Homelab series, and today we are stepping into smart home side. We will install Home Assistant. If you are not aware, Home Assistant is an open source project for home automation, and it is supported by worldwide community. And if you own any smart bulb, smart plug, smart speaker, or any sensor at home, Home Assistant can talk to it and it supports more than 1500 integrations. All the big brands, they already have integration with the Home Assistant. Now, Home Assistant it itself a very big project, and we are going to cover only some beginner level stuff like installation, integrating one or two devices, some of the core concepts, automations, dashboard, but we will not go in detail. And in case you really want to explore Home Assistant in detail, I will suggest you to go on their page and look into the documentation. So they have a very solid documentation for everything, from installation to automations. Everything is documented very well. For example, in installation, you can see they have many sections for many device, from Linux to Raspberry Pi, Mac OS, Windows. So everything is well documented here. You may ask that why not just use the brand application? So here is the issue. So most of the smart home application, they push your data into the server, which resides in some other maybe country or somewhere in the cloud, right? So whenever you tap a button, your tap goes from your phone to the server in some far country and then back to your device at home. So if the internet is down or the server is down, your device will not work. Home Assistant works on the other way. It runs fully on your own server and it talks to your devices on your home network. So there is a no cloud trip, no outage, and obviously your data is with you. And if your internet drops, your device is still working because it is connected with the home network.
We will create Docker Compose file for Home Assistant. In the previous videos, we used anti-gravity AI assistant to create Docker Compose for our services. In this video, we will create it from normal text files. To create a text file or Docker Compose file, I'm currently using VS Code here, but you can use any text editor you like Notepad++ or Sublime or default Notepad as well. And we are going to follow the steps which are mentioned in the Home Assistant documentation. So I'll go to the Home Assistant documentation for installation, and in the Linux tab I will go to the Docker Compose file section, and I'm going to copy and paste everything which is there in the Docker Compose into the new file. Also, let's change the volumes. So I'll change it to config and save this to Docker Compose file inside a new folder, Home Assistant. You can name the folder as you like and the file as you like. And then after saving it, let's go back to our terminal and go to the folder where we have saved the file. Check the file names, make sure that it's present there.
Okay, so let's talk about this Docker Compose file. In the root, you can see services attribute. You can have multiple services inside one YML file. In this file, we have only one services, which is Home Assistant. This is the container name. This is the image location. These are the volumes. And restart, unless stop means it should always restart until it stop manually. And let's save this. Let's run Docker command again with help attribute. And we are going to use Docker compose here. You can see the command is Docker compose. Let's clear this and let's use Docker compose and then dash dash help. And now you can see the detail, or you can see the help section about this compose command. So it have these options and these additional commands. In some cases, Linux can have multiple subcommands. For example, this is a good one. So Docker is your root command and compose is your sub command, or we can also add up or down additionally to Docker Compose. Let's see what this up and down does. So here you can see the up is to create and start containers, and down is to stop and remove containers. And now our Docker Compose file contains the containers, right? You can see the container name here. So basically we can use this up and down to manage our containers which are defined inside the compose file. So let's do that. So let's clear this first. Put docker compose up. Now this command, what it will do, it will go and check the files inside this home assistant folder and try to run the containers or the services which are defined in that YML. So let's do that. Okay, it is saying that permission is denied, and you might face this issue a lot because for Docker, the sudo permission is required. So let's try this again with sudo docker compose up, and it will ask you for the password. And before that, let me show you the container, right? Yeah. So right now our container is running only 5 services. Let's move back to CMD. And you can see this command is pulling up the Home Assistant image file, and then it will try to run and deploy this Docker container. And after it succeeds, we can see the 6 container running here. It will take some time because it is downloading the image. Okay, so now the image is downloaded and now it will start the container. Okay, so it started and it is running. And let's refresh our container here, and we can see there is a home assistant running. So if you click on the container, uh, in the stack section, you can see this is type compose, but it has a limited control because this stack was created outside of the container. So if you remember in the previous videos, we created a Samba service and Jellyfin, but we have pasted the YML file inside the container. But now this one is we have created outside of the container, and that's why we have limited control on this stack. Let's go back to our documentation, and you can see here it is saying that once the Home Assistant container is running, we can access the Home Assistant on this URL. So the port is 18123. Let's copy that. And since I am going to access this on my local system remotely, I can use localhost here, localhost and your 8123 IP. You can see the welcome screen. If you are accessing it remotely or not on your Ubuntu machine, you can use your IP address of the server and then the port. You can the same screen. Okay, so let's start the configuration. For home location, you can set up your address or you can just set it default. You can set up your country. For me, it's India and obviously your time zone. So for India, it's plus 5:30. You can skip all this and it's trying to find devices here, right? Yeah, it's Bluetooth and UPnG, IHD. This is from the system itself, so it is able to find that. And this is what we have the dashboard. The first item you see is overview. Overview is basically your home screen and the page you land every time you open Home Assistant. This is basically your main dashboard, so showing all your smart home control at one place. You can customize this completely, add and remove and rearrange cards, whatever you like, right? You can see here, you can edit it. And the next section is map. The map is basically shows you a live map of your home and location. This is very helpful if you have a devices with GPS, like a phone or GPS tag or something. So one more use case of map is that you can create a zone, location like a school or maybe office, right? And you can create your automation based on the actions around the zones. The third one is energy. In the energy section, you can actually set up and monitor your power consumption. So you can set up electricity grid, solar panels, battery storage, gas consumptions, water consumptions, everything. Okay, the next one is activity. Activity is basically a log. It shows a chronological feed of every event. It's basically a logbook. So this is good for troubleshooting. And history is similar to the log, but it have some visual graphics. I'll show you one demo for this. The media is basically a media browser. So you can control media like smart TV, speakers, right? You can see what is currently playing. You can browse local media files. And the to-do list is basically a simple plain to-do list. You can create a multiple list and you can add your tasks around home task and work stuff. Okay, so we saw the empty overview, but we should see some demo around it, right? So I'll go to Home Assistant and we can see some live demos. And in this demo, you can see we have a overview page renamed as a demo, and you can see all these devices configured as a cards, small cards. So, and you can manage those devices from here itself. Like this is a spotlight in the living room. The kitchen, it's off, but I can now turn it on. So basically from the dashboard, you can manage everything if you have set up it correctly. On energy level, I can see there is a whole setup has been done. So there is energy distributions from solar panel to battery and grid, and there's a gas consumption. So basically the generation, the consumption, everything is shown here. You can see in detail when you click on the menus. We didn't find any demo for our activity and history. So what we can do, we can search in Google Home Assistant, and I can see here it is showing that history integration track everything that is going within the Home Assistant. So basically this is a log and you can see one of the screenshot around the history page. Now, the reason I'm showing you all of this that in the documentation section of Home Assistant, you can actually see everything what I explained earlier, right? So you can see the dashboards, details here. You can see the views, right? The cards. The documentation of Home Assistant is very solid, and that's one of the reason I brought you on this documentation page. So you can see a documentation around dashboards, automations, energy management. Okay, so now let's set up some devices. For setting up the devices, you have to go in the setting section. And you can see there are some additional menus in settings like devices and services, automations and scenes, area, label and zones, application, dashboards. We talked about dashboard earlier, right? So we are going to work mainly with the devices and services and automation and scenes. To add a new device, we have to click on the devices and services. And we can see there are three tabs: integrations, devices and entities. So let's talk about this. The integration is basically a link to a brand like a Philips Hue link on Google Nets or something like. So basically, integration covers a brand, right? And devices, we have one physical device for that. So let's take a smart bulb that is a device, and the application that manage or the integration that manage bulb is comes under the integrations. So the integrations and devices. Entities is a tiny piece of that device. So entities are like attribute of that particular device. So let's say if I take example of a smart bulb, then the brightness, right? The on and off colors, all these are the entities of that particular device. But an entity is more than just a name. It has two important parts. First is state and the second is attribute. And the state is main value. For a bulb, that state is just on and off. But maybe for a temperature sensor device, the state is maybe 23 degree, 24. The attributes are extra details. A bulb has a brightness, color, and power. use as an attribute. A door sensor or a smart switch maybe have a different attributes. Okay, enough with theories. Let's do some practical. So I have a smart Wi-Fi plug which is TP-Link Tapo P110, and let's add that device in our Home Assistant. So when you search Tapo, you see TP-Link here, and in that we have Tapo. It's saying that support for Tapo device provided by TP-Link Smart Home. And if you don't know, this is basically an integration. So let's search for this. And you can see here in the Home Assistant documentation, this is the integration TP Smart Home. And oh, you can see all about this, like local pooling, the configuration, everything around this integration. So it supports plug. For me, it is P110, which is here, right? So from the device to integration, everything is mentioned in the documentation, and that's why whenever you are stuck, please go and visit the documentation page of Home Assistant. So let's add this. Now, it is asking for hostname or IP. So any device, we call it IoT device, Internet of Things, any IoT device, whenever connecting to other devices or a router, it uses a IP, or router assigns a IP to these devices. And the one way you can find the IP, you can go inside your router and check all the listed devices, and from there you can see the IP. The other way is to connect your device with your brand application, and over there you can see the IP in the device detail. I had downloaded Tapo applications. I have set up my device in the Tapo, and going under device info, I can see the IP address and MAC address for the device. So the IP is 192.168.1.159. We got an error, connection error. So the error is basically saying that there is some connectivity issue and the device is unsupported. But it is able to find the type of the device because it can see it's a smart Topo plug. So what we can do, just copy this. Okay, you cannot copy and search on the internet. Maybe I'll show you a shortcut. This is just a shortcut, but you can always type the error in the Google. And I can see that this error happened because scientific firm updated. Okay, you can fix it by turning third-party compatibility setting off and on again. And when I went into the brand application, I can see there is a setting which is saying the third party service, and I just turned it off. And now let's try it again. So again, 192 state 1.159. And now it is asking for the TP-Link credentials. So the username is case sensitive here. And now we have the device name and the area. We will discuss more about the area and zones in future. But yeah, I have added one device and you can see the details around this device. So we have device info. These are the sensors, right? And we talk about attributes and entities. So these are basically the entities. And let's go back to settings. So we'll discuss it more. And now you can see this is the device I have added. And these are the entities for this device. So we have cloud connections, then overloaded, power protection, turn off. We can actually add this on the dashboard. So let's add this to dashboard. And we got this error, no views in this dashboard. And I can see only one dashboard, which is map. So something has changed, how the overview was. And now we have to create a new dashboard. So let's go into setting, dashboard. Let's create a new dashboard and let's create a dashboard from scratch. And now I can use and I can add views. So this is actually a view and now it's unnamed. So let's say which one I should use. Maybe sections. Yeah. primary view. Okay, and done. And you can see the new menu is added here. And let's go back to our device and let's try to add that. Right now, my device smart Wi-Fi plug have the AC connected to it. So let's add to dashboard and this is the new dashboard. Let's add. And now when I go back to our new dashboard, I can see our card icon and I can actually manage my smart plug from here. Right now it's off because I just turned it off, but it's on again. I'm not going to go in detail with dashboards because I think this is more of the creative work. But yeah, this is how you create a dashboards and the views. And let's add some more entities here. So maybe I can add the power usage, right? Maybe let's add to dashboard again and I can see the power usage here. So right now it is consuming around this much. Okay, so when you have more devices, you can add all your important attributes of the devices. So whenever you log in, you can see everything from one screen. Okay, so we saw the integration devices entities. Helpers are basically your virtual entities that you build yourself. These are very useful for managing automations. For example, you can create a button helper. So let's say test or maybe switch off all, and you can use it to turn and off and on the automations or devices. You can also create a toggle button. So again, this can be used to turn off and on any device or automation. These are virtual entities actually, and you can use them in automations. Now, again, the next section is your automation and scenes. But before that, let's go to the area and zones. Area is something inside your home, like living room, kitchen, bedroom, right? And zones are basically spots on the map, like your home, school, maybe garage or office. And the zones basically used for the rule based on the locations, like hey, turn off all the lights when nobody's home, or start the lights in the hall when I reach to home. So for this kind of automations, the zone is needed. Now let's go to the automation and scenes. We'll discuss about the scene first. So scene is basically a saved snapshot. So let's say evening is also a scene, right? You can set up automation around the evening. The script is a saved sequence of steps, like good morning script that will basically turn off your light bulbs or maybe start some smart plug, something like that, right? Maybe a geyser it can on or maybe play some music. So a script is basically a saved sequence of steps which can be triggered. And automation. So automation is a rule that fire on its own and it has a three part. First one is trigger, second one is condition, which is optional, and third is the action. And we will set up this, but let's discuss about what is what. Trigger is your specific event happening around your home. For example, sun is set or any trigger which is added in here, right? And conditions are basically additional step before we do some actions. And the actions are basically the scripts. The scene is state and the actions are trigger. So basically, so automation uses scenes and script. Okay, so let's create a simple automation. The scenario is the smart plug which I'm using is connected to AC. So the AC should only run in the evening and in the night. So let's add a trigger and I can select a time or maybe some entities. For this automation, I am selecting a sun and I can select my trigger by target or by type. Let's select by target and let's set up for sunset. So on the sunset, it should, again, I have a target by type or blocks. So let's select by type and in type we select device and or AC. So it should turn on, and let's save. Now create a different one which should turn off. So again sun, but at this time it should turn off. Okay, so I have evening AC on and morning turn off. And I can actually enable and disable these from here. So this one is very simple automation. As I said in the beginning, the Home Assistant is very big project, and to cover everything in the simple beginner video is not possible. I'm trying to explain the topics which are very important to Home Assistant, and I hope that this is at least useful in the theory. One last step, the Home Assistant also have mobile application. This is available on Play Store and App Store both. So that is all for episode 5. Home Assistant is up, your one device is linked, and your first automation is live. I know there is no much practical in this video, but I hope the theory is helpful to you guys. And if you need any specific video about the Home Assistant, please feel free to comment on this video. In the episode 6, we will set up a ad guard home that will block ads on every device in your house. And if this video helped you, please hit like and subscribe. It means a lot. Thanks for watching. Take care.